Do you ever get stuck in spirals of overconsumption? Eating, scrolling, smoking, hitting that next joint until you finally hit this point where you realize, oh, I feel terrible. All of the pleasure seeking that you thought was going to give you happiness actually just ends up making you feel terrible. Well, if this is something that you experienced, then stick around because I want to help you to understand a simple equation that was presented to me recently, that happiness is not pleasure. Happiness does not equal pleasure. And I'm going to give you some simple tools and tricks so that you can actually start to create true lasting happiness on a daily basis with simple shifts in your perspective and simple little tools that will help you to actually create the happiness that, well, that modern society has been trying to sell you through consumption. So stick around because happiness is not pleasure. True happiness is deeper than that. It's longer lasting. And it's not going to come from just lighting up a cigarette. So here's the deal. I have been dealing with addiction and addictive tendencies for a long time. Now, I won't ever call myself an addict and I won't ever call myself an alcoholic because I am not my behaviors. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I am so much more than the things that I used to do. I'm now 5 years alcohol free, and I'm now just about to hit 1 year completely substance free. And I did all of this without 12 step, without rehab, without medications or drugs. I did it without the usual path that most people go through. And part of that success has been through understanding and cultivating happiness and understanding that happiness is not pleasure. So the most important reason that we need to integrate deeply into our cells, our mind, our unconscious mind, our day-to-day practices and habits, that happiness is not pleasure, is because it will help you to break free from those addictive cycles. Addiction is rampant, and it is not just alcohol and intoxicating substances. Addiction is more than just those things. It's eating habits, it's spending habits, it's our relationships, it's our sex craving, it's all kinds of things. And in order to break free from those destructive habits, we must truly learn and practice the knowing that happiness is not pleasure. Happiness is deeper than that. But there's other reasons why you need to really understand this truth. And this is a truth that has been practiced by philosophers and taught for countless ages, generations, years, millennia. The other reason that we need to really get clear on this is because there is more to this life than the lifestyle that our society, that modern media, that modern films, and that the Western capitalistic system has sold to us. This lifestyle that keeps us pursuing pleasure with another pair of shoes, another car, the brand new outfit, the new iPhone, that delicious $200, $300, $500 meal. Those things are all trying to convince us that happiness comes from these fulfilling of cravings and desires, that the short-term neurotransmitters, the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin that we gain from these things is actually going to make us happy. That is false. That keeps us running around on a hamster wheel, doing jobs and work and tasks that we don't want to do so that we can get that paycheck, like the little hamster running on the wheel and then eventually taking his little food pellets so that we can continue to feed into this cycle. The cycle that fuels a system that has been long built on the backs of millions and billions of people. A system that siphons energy from our soul. And it's time to break free because I know that you, like Neo, before he took the red pill in the Matrix, you sense that there's something greater in this life. There's more to this life than just temporary shallow, meaningless satisfactions. No, there's something deeper. And that's why we need to understand this. Because you are here for something greater. You have a sense that there is more that your soul wants to express. You have a sense that there is a better world available to us, one where everyone gets to have unlimited abundance, where everyone can create and play and experience joy and laughter and love and passion. And it's more than just another hit. Look, I have experienced this in so many ways in my life. I am now hitting just about 1 year of complete substance free, no intoxication of any kind, save for maybe a little bit of tea, some caffeine, some cacao. I don't even drink coffee. I'm also 5 years alcohol free, which is a funny thing because I used to be in the restaurant business. I was passionate about wine. I was a certified wine taster, a sommelier, and I gave it up because I knew that there was something more. I was called to a path to be a teacher, a guide, a healer, someone to help other people to transform and break away from this pattern. And I still deal with these things because we are in the third dimension. In the third dimension, we have 5 senses. These 5 senses help us to really indulge, to enjoy that cup of coffee, the aroma, the taste, and even the feeling when the caffeine gets us excited. Just the other day, I was celebrating Christmas Eve with my friends here. I've moved back to Guatemala. I'm here temporarily, but I was called back here from a 4-year break when I was living in the States, and I was a little overindulging, overwhelmed by this Western capitalist mentality. And now I'm back here, and I'm at this beautiful retreat center where my friend Luke hosts people who are looking to meditate, who are looking to go into silence, who are looking to write and to become true, passionate creators, to channel that creative energy. But here's the thing. I left the States to escape that Western mentality. I left the States to escape the capitalist, even holidays of Christmas, so I could celebrate the holidays here. But wherever you go, there you are. Everywhere you go, your baggage comes with you until you let it go. Now, I have done a lot of that, and even though I'm not smoking, drinking, hitting joints, taking mushrooms, that kind of thing, I still find challenges around food. And so, Christmas Eve, we had this beautiful day. I actually went to sleep feeling very joyful and nourished, and I also felt bloated, overfilled, stuffed to the brim with food. But that sense of happiness didn't come from the food. It didn't come from satisfying that craving for a third, fourth, and fifth cookie. It actually came from the hike that I went on in the afternoon with my friend Luke. We went up to the hill. He wanted to show me a beautiful little spot where he goes to meditate. A place nearby he calls Butterfly Alley, where there literally were hundreds of butterflies flying around. It was priceless. The hike going up there, the conversation where we got to connect after so many years of separation. We actually even harvested poinsettias, this typical Christmas flower. We found some in this valley near an active Mayan altar used for ceremonial purposes. With permission, we took some of the flowers. We brought them back home. We brought some cacao that we were going to use to prepare for this big kirtan and cacao ceremony we were going to do on Christmas Day. We were prepping and hanging lights and setting up candles and getting ready for dinner. All of these activities created a sense of happiness in me. There was work involved. The hike was actually tiring. The setting up of the candles and the decorations and trimming the flowers to put them in the vase, it took energy. But it fueled me because that effort to create something, to create even just a temporary moment of satisfaction for this holiday, created true happiness. But it wasn't until I sat down in front of my plate of food that craving for pleasure really kicked in. I had one slice of pizza, and that was good, satisfying. But then it turned into 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then I think 5. I don't really know how many I had. But the pleasure was taking over. The pleasure that I was getting from fulfilling the craving for more food and to eat more and to get more of those chemicals happening from the consumption of the food. Even that little bit of cheese, which I was curious to see how cheese would feel in my body. I hadn't had it for quite some time. But that casein affects the neurotransmitters in your brain. It actually produces an opiate-like effect. So there I was, getting high on food. And then we had cookies. And then one cookie turned to 4. And all of a sudden I was playing out the same old thing over and over again. Look, the joy that I experienced didn't come from the food. Temporary satisfaction of a craving came from the chemical experience of eating the food. The happiness that it was experiencing, that came from the prayers that we shared together over the food. It came from the setting of the table, the lighting of the candles. It came from the mindfulness. It came from smelling the food. It came from all of the things that led up to it. Now, had I been able to catch myself in the moment, to stop, slow down, and realize that actually I'm feeling very full, had I been able to practice more mindfully eating the food instead of just boom, 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 eating and consuming, I might have been able to stop a little bit sooner. Then, in that moment, after dinner, we cleaned up, we were getting ready to rest. I felt the guilt and the shame coming in. I have this pattern that I experience where I seek the pleasure, I indulge in the pleasure wears off, and then the judgment of myself comes in. I started to judge myself. The judgment turned into shame. Shame led to guilt. Guilt led to sadness and even some anger. And there I was in this cocktail of negative emotions, all inducing stress-related hormones that come from these thought patterns. And I started to find myself in a deeper spiral. The pleasure that I sought was taking me deeper into despair. The temporary high was going to be met and turned into balance by creating an equal low, because nature loves balance, and nature will seek out balance any way possible. The high that you feel will be met by the lows. The ecstasy of psychedelic journeys will be met by a deep bottom, a deep low afterwards, when we realize, like, oh my God, I'm not living in that psychedelic ecstasy anymore. I'm actually dealing with third dimensional stuff. And so I want you to know that the pursuit solely of pleasure will always take you down lower. Balance will be found. Nature will find a way. And for us as humans, it happens usually with our thinking, our judgment of the self, especially for those of you that, like me, were taught how to do this, not intentionally, but by our family. Symptoms of complex trauma, symptoms of growing up in communities and neighborhoods and schools and in families that did not know how to teach us emotional intelligence, that didn't know how to teach us that I could actually savor and enjoy 1 or 2 slices of pizza and get far more than by eating more. So here's what I want you to do, is I want you to recognize that true happiness does not come from short-term satisfaction of cravings. In fact, if you were to actually look back at your life and find the times that you were truly happy, they might be the times when you were extremely challenged, when you went through great difficulties, when you were required to make a true leveling up in your life. And no, maybe not every moment was filled with joy and ecstasy, but overall, you actually were truly deeply satisfied, because your soul knows what is truly meaningful for you. But it is the mindless cravings, the habits and patterns that our culture has installed in us of seeking out these short-term little benefits and boosts by drinking that next cup of coffee, it is those things that actually lead to our destruction. And so if you know that you're here for something greater, you know that there is a greater world for us to enjoy and to explore, then I want you to experience life at a subtler level, which means getting rid of those overstimulating habits. So how are you going to do that? Cool. Let's talk about the how. Take breaks. If you're in a situation like I was for the holidays, Christmas, a lot of family, a party even, you can just step away. If you're feeling overstimulated, overwhelmed, or you find yourself reaching for those things, recognize it and walk away. Take a break. Go out for a walk. Get some fresh air. Go up to your room and meditate or read. You can step away from the party. At any point in time during that evening of Christmas Eve, I could have walked away. I didn't, because I wasn't in the awareness level. Now, had I walked away, even mid-meal potentially, I might have recognized that I was super full. I was good. I didn't need any of those things. So step away and do whatever you need to do to recharge. The second thing that you can do, and this is a great way to recharge, is to take mindful breaths. Breathe mindfully. I highly encourage you to use the box breath method. You can use a count of 4, or you can even go to a count of 8. And you're going to imagine that every phase of your breath, there's 4 steps to every breath. There's the inhale, there's holding, there's the exhale, and there's holding on the exhale. Those 4 steps are much like a box. And so you can take 4 counts in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold out for 4. Drawing this box with these 4 counts. And the nice thing is that the mind is engaged with the counting, and so your mind is not going to be distracted in this weird thinking monkey mind mode. And the body is going to be soothed by the breathing. It will actually slow your heart rate. It'll engage your parasympathetic nervous system. It will start to shift the chemicals being processed from the stress chemicals to more of the relaxing and slowing chemicals. So box breathing, there's so many others, 4-7-8 breathing, there's all kinds of stuff that you can look up. Practice it. Take a few breaths. Even just while breathing, you can even use, before you eat the meal, deeply smelling your food as a way to start to slow down. Take 3 or 4 deep breaths, inhaling and savoring the smell of your food, and that will slow you down. Let's talk about number 3. If you're in a holiday situation, a party situation, you can set intentions. I'm only going to eat this much. I'm only going to drink this much. I'm only going to have 1 plate of dessert. I'm only going to have 1 cup of coffee. You can do these things. And setting intentions beforehand is powerful, because you will know that, okay, I said I'm only going to have 1 cup of coffee. Boom, I have my cup of coffee. I'm setting it down. The tricky part can be when the thing that you are setting an intention on, the indulgence, is intoxicating, like alcohol or cannabis, because your inhibitions start to drop afterwards, and it becomes difficult for you to hold yourself accountable to those intentions. That's why I recommend working with a buddy. There's a buddy system. Have someone else there with you at the party, a friend, a loved one, a partner, and say, hey, my intention is to only have 1 cup of coffee, or 2 glasses of wine, or 1 plate of food, or 1 cookie. Can you help me be accountable to that? Now, they're not going to be your mom or your dad, and they're not going to smack you if they see you doing it. They might not even be there to babysit you. However, you can check in with them. And just by having told someone else, you are more likely to do it, because accountability is powerful. That's why a lot of people are able to have a job and turn in their work to a boss, but sometimes they struggle with entrepreneurship. It's because they don't have anyone to hold them accountable. So create your own system of accountability, find an accountability buddy, and set that intention. Number 4, you can prepare alternatives. Bring healthier options for you to indulge in, right? If you know that highly sugared cookies are not going to be the good thing for you when you're going to your mom or dad's house and that's what they have, bring your own cookies. Maybe bake a whole bunch to share with everyone and create the healthy option on the buffet, knowing that you'll have what you want to indulge in that's healthier for you than the other stuff. And you can even create a very satisfying experience by sharing that with other people. And by the way, that gifting, sharing, giving is going to help create true happiness. So maybe you can bring and prepare your own alternatives. I spent years at my family making my own food and helping to prepare the food that they would eat because they ate a lot of different things. I don't eat meat. So I would make my own vegetarian or vegan dish, and then I would help them to prepare their food, but I would make sure that I have what I want. Number 5 is to practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. Take those moments before the meal and say a prayer. You don't even have to say a prayer. If you have baggage with religion, which a lot of us do, instead, go around the table and ask everyone to share something, one thing, two things, three things that they are grateful for, and do it yourself. I can sit there with my meal or my coffee or my tea or whatever it is, and I can say, I'm so grateful. Thank you to all of the people who labored over this to make this tea or this coffee a reality. Thank you to the people who even made this mug. Thank you to the hands that were involved in shipping this mug, boxing it up, setting it on a shelf in a store so that I could buy it. You can feel gratitude for all of those things, all those people, and that will shift your energy. That is deeply nourishing, and that creates true happiness versus just the hit of the caffeine. The last thing that you can do, especially in these challenging, maybe family or holiday seasons, is engage in movement. Go for a walk, go for a stretch, do some exercise. When I used to have my family over, we'd do Christmas at my parents' house. We had a basketball hoop outside. We would go after one plate of food and we'd go play basketball. Now we weren't slamming buckets or anything like that. We weren't, playing really intensely because we were a little bit full. But we were out there doing something, and that doing something engages the body and helps to stimulate some digestion. Going for a walk is fantastic. You can do that before or after. It's actually so nourishing and satisfying to have a meal when you actually feel hunger for that meal rather than just eating for the sake of eating. So going out and doing some exercise in the morning on the holidays can be a great way for you to build up that true desire in your body and then satisfy it in a healthy way. So here's the thing. What if you could stop chasing that fleeting pleasure and embrace true happiness? What if you started to practice these things daily? What if you set a reminder on your phone that said every 3 hours, every 6 hours, every morning and every evening, I'm going to practice gratitude. I'm going to take 5 minutes to breathe. What if you could do that? How do you think your life would change? Do you think you would still crave the cigarettes or the scrolling or the pornography or whatever it might be? Look, every choice is growth, and you're not alone in this. So I want you to stick around, join, subscribe the channel, put on the notifications, maybe send this to a friend if you feel some benefit from this discussion. And I want you to know that I'm in the process of creating an online community, some courses, some tools, and a coaching program to help you go in 90 days from lost, addicted, and stressed out to satisfied, peaceful, and more in alignment with your true life purpose. And so if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe, stay in tune, and then you can also comment below, send me your email address, and I will send you a link so that you can join my newsletter, so that you can get the first drop on when we have sales and the first introductory pricing on this new process. So stick around. My name is Christopher Armstrong. I help people to transform their life from addicted and pleasure-seeking to true satisfaction and life purpose.